Hello everyone, this is Michael again with another demo lesson for you guys and Academic Task 1 again. Today we're looking at pie charts. Chris was saying that you were all very pleased with the test teach test kind of format. Now, I had actually made this lesson already, so what I'm going to do is just, I guess, try and make it a bit more interactive in that I'm going to encourage you to participate and kind of like just work with what you have already and compare it to what I'm doing. So just have a pen and paper with you, and I'm just going to get you guys to do it in advance. So this one will probably take a bit longer than previous ones because you'll need to pause it more often and you'll need to sit down and work it out. And basically, you're going to write most of an essay while watching this video, and then I'll give you the give you your own question to answer for afterwards. So this is the question, and I guess what you could do now is just pause it and write out the paraphrase and the overview without any of my support. So whenever you're ready, just unpause and we'll move on. So the paraphrase, this is the original question, and what I like to do is just kind of highlight the chunks that I'm going to paraphrase. So rather than one word at a time. So if you've watched the previous demo lessons from me, you'll know what I'm talking about already. So what I've done is, so just enlarge it so we can see it more easily. So what I've done is I've underlined these bits here. So I'm going to paraphrase the pie charts in one go, and that's going to be the graphs show. Okay, simple enough. Below, we're not going to paraphrase because that's not, it doesn't make sense if we bring that word with us. Then indicate the primary uses of internet. So again, if this is in any way different to what you already did when I showed you the question, you can try again to paraphrase these bits. So indicate the primary use of internet. This is what I have, the main purposes for internet usage. Of course, there is more than one way to paraphrase anything, but this is what I have. It doesn't mean that what you had was wrong, so this is just to support you. In Japan, it'd be kind of difficult to change that around too much, so I'm just going to keep that as it is. And then my last bit, in the years 1995 to 2005. In 95 and 10 years later. So just be careful. Sometimes I've seen when you paraphrase years like this, that you will make it sound like a line graph where it would be from 1995 to 2005. But let me just go back here. So what we have is one piece of information, or actually like one point in time at 95, one point in 2005. So you would need to be careful that when you're paraphrasing this description of the information, like, don't make it sound like a line graph. Okay, and if you want to just use my my synonyms there and try to piece that together into a complete paraphrase, just feel free to pause it again, and then I'll show you the answer in about 2 or 3 seconds. Okay, so this is what I have. The graphs show the main purpose for internet usage in Japan in 1995 and 10 years later. Okay, so pretty straightforward. I mean, the vocabulary that I'm using isn't anything mind-blowing, and I know for a fact that most of you would have this level of vocabulary already, and it's just like being able to piece it together in a way where you're not losing too much time, and also you're not losing the meaning, you're not losing the accuracy. So, I mean, just a bit of practice is good. Well, this is my paraphrase, I'm happy enough with that. Okay, so the overview. Now, there isn't much information here, but I always like to make some annotations. So annotations are like little notes, and like on the question sheet. Obviously, it would be easier if this was on paper in front of you, but you can still just kind of draw a kind of rough, ugly pie charts in front of you so that you can make your own annotations. But basically, when I'm doing my annotations, I like to just remove any other information, because really, at the moment, when I'm considering my overview, I don't care what the chart is about right now. So what the different segments represent isn't going to help me determine the differences between the 2 years. So all I'm going to look at green there. So the left one is 23%, the one on the right is 13%. So I'm just going to draw a little arrow down in that when I'm thinking further, when I'm thinking about how to group my information, when I'm thinking about what to put in my first key feature and my second key feature, it's going to be much more obvious when I have these little notes made. So red was 31 to 45, so that was up. Yellow was 27 to 30, so that was also up. And blue was 19 to 12%, so again down. Another thing that I like to do, and this could just be in your head or you could make notes, but it's not essential. But what I would do is like look at green again, say like, okay, 23 to 13, like just consider like what adjective or what adverb could you use to describe the amount or the how much it decreased. So I'll just put in that's significant. So it's like a full 10%, that's quite a significant decrease. 31, so we're looking at red, the red segment. 31 up to 45%, so again, that is quite a substantial increase. We're looking at about 13, 14% there. Yellow went up only 3%, so I'd say that's modest. And blue went down 19% to 12%, and that's just a slight decrease. So I think at this point, it's a good time to look at the notes that you've made and just consider, I want to write 2 key features. You can write more, but 2 is the ideal number of key features, because then you know exactly what to put in your first details paragraph. And that would be the first key feature, and exactly again what you're going to put into your second details paragraph, which would be the second key feature. So it's not a must. It's not that you have to have 2 key features, but it would make your life easier as you move forward through through writing your essay. So I'm looking at it here. I'm sure it's obvious to most of you, if not all of you, what way you would group these segments for your key features. So I have 2 arrows going down, 2 arrows going up. I think it's pretty obvious. I'm just going to take the 2 going down together as one of my key features, and the 2 going up together as my other key feature. I mean, to me that's pretty straightforward, and I couldn't imagine another way to do it that would be as logical. So you're just looking for simplicity, and that's the most logical way of doing it at all times. So don't make things complicated. Okay, so we're back looking at the full question again, because now I've made my decisions. The words in the question, the names of the categories become important again. So we've decided I'm going to have blue and green, which is communication and entertainment, as one key feature. I'm going to have yellow and red, which is study and work, as my second key feature. What I want you to do now is I want you to write what I want you to do now is write your overview. So write your first and your second key feature into an overview. So I'm going to stop you. I'm going to give you about 5 seconds to do that. So stop, pause the video. When you're finished, we'll continue and I'll show you some examples. Okay, so I'm presuming that you guys are actually you're actually writing these overviews as you watch the video, so I'm going to respond as if you have. Now, when you're looking at the overview you've just written in front of you, if you have written 4 sentences, as in one for each category, that's not good enough, because there's going to be too much repetition of grammatical structures in that, and also if you only write simple sentences, that is going to bring down your score in grammar. So what you would want to do is have at least the 2 going down in one sentence and the 2 going up in another sentence. But better again would be to have both of your key features in just one sentence. So if you haven't done that, I want you to pause the video again and try to restructure your overview into one sentence, using cohesive devices to link everything together. And whenever you're ready, press play again, and I'm going to show you 4 examples of how you could do this. Right, so number 1 is this. Although blue and green both decreased, red and yellow increased. Now, of course, you're not going to be using the words blue, green, red, yellow. You're going to be using entertaining work study communication. But this is just to explain to you. So I have although and then the comma. So we're seeing that there's a contrast between what's before the comma and what's after the comma. So this is fine. This would be considered an acceptable overview. But if you're looking for a higher score, you want to make it a bit more complex than that. I'm not talking about the cohesive device. I'm talking about the simplicity. Oh, excuse me. So number 2, blue and green both decreased, which was in contrast to the increase shown by red and yellow. So again, I have another cohesive device, which was in contrast to. So that is another way to kind of separate the information, but keep it all in one sentence. Again, this would be the same as number 1 in that you have written an accurate overview, but it is kind of like as simple as it could be. And while blue had a slight decrease and green had a significant decrease, yellow increased modestly and red increased substantially. So now I'm starting to use my adjectives and my adverbs to just give a bit more depth to the overview. And here, compared to the first 2, this is going to be considered better, because you don't want specific information, but you still want to give a better idea of what's happening. So that would be considered a better overview. Obviously, using the correct names of the categories, but that would be a better overview than the other 2. And that's just another cohesive device. So while here and your comma here. So that would be another way to put both key features together. And the last one, blue only had a slight decrease, while green had a significant decrease, whereas yellow increased modestly and red increased substantially. Now, I think numbers 3 and 4 would be equally, would be just as strong, in that you've given the adjectives and the adverbs to make it more clear to the reader. Of course, there are problems with these being blue, green, yellow, and red is not acceptable, so you wouldn't want that. And also decrease, decrease, increase, increase. You don't want this repetition within anything within any sentence, any overview, even in the complete essay. So just to note how to construct an overview in one sentence using these cohesive devices, and also to add your adjectives and adverbs to make it a bit stronger than it would be in its more simple form, like we had in the first 2. Right, so up to this, in the previous demo lessons, I didn't actually look at details paragraphs too much, because I felt that once you had the overview there already, that you would be pretty much good to go, that it was already organized. But it seems that you need a bit more attention with your details paragraphs than I gave you previously. So what I've done is, I'm just going to write the first details paragraphs for you as an example. Now, when you consider what you're looking at here on the screen, I've removed all the information that you don't need when you're writing your details paragraphs. So this is all you really need to consider. You've got the blue and the green segment. I have my adjectives and my arrows to show me, just so I can remember more easily, the years, which will be important, and then the names of the categories. So really, you can just block everything else out of your mind for this details paragraph. This is all that I care about. Now, for a details paragraph, sometimes you will have a lot of information, and you have to just like pick out the most important pieces, because you don't have time. You don't have time to describe every single detail. But in this circumstance, there's very little going on. So basically, you're going to describe communication went down from 19 to 12, and entertainment went down from 23 to 13, and that needs to be a full details paragraph. That alone isn't enough to have you want around 50 words. It doesn't matter that it's exactly that, but you want it long enough that you're meeting the 150 word limit on the minimum limit on the word count. So I want you to pause the video and write the details paragraph. So this would be your first details paragraph in this essay. But just consider that you have very little information to discuss, so you would want to make some kind of comparison between these categories so as to have enough words in your paragraph. So again, I'll just give you 5 seconds, pause the video, write your own details paragraphs, and then I'll show you what I came up with. Okay, so this is mine. The amount of people using the internet in Japan for communication purposes reduced from 19% to 12% in the 10-year period. Now, I just want to talk about this sentence before we continue to the rest of it. This is something that you all had an issue with, not all, but most of you had an issue with, in that your first sentence last week would have been something along the lines of, the amount of people using the internet in Japan in 1995 was 19%, and then you stopped. That was a full stop, and you only described this here. This is something that I've been saying to you since the start of the demo lessons, is that you never really want to have one small piece of information like that. So if you're only describing this one blue segment that I'm highlighting here with my cursor, that's not enough. So what I've done is this one and this one together in one sentence. That's what I mean by including more than one piece of information per sentence. And this is something that I want to see from you guys this week, especially because I felt that it was the one, I wouldn't say your one weakness, but it is the one area that you can improve very easily if you just remember it when you're writing. So I want to see more of this. So I have 19 and 12% in the same first sentence. So I'm not wasting a sentence on a small amount of information. I'm getting doubling up. I want more. Okay, so the next sentence then is I'm talking about entertainment. The figure for entertainment had a more significant reduction from slightly below a quarter, so 23%, that's slightly below a quarter, in 1995, to end with a similar proportion as communication in 2005 with 13%. So this is what I was saying about you don't have much information to relay in this paragraph, so you want to make some kind of a comparison. So I've just said in a more significant reduction from a more significant reduction, so that is making a comparison, and with a similar proportion as communication. So these two pieces are just to give more basically to use up my word count. So I'm making comparisons, so it's relevant, but I'm also making sure that my paragraph is long enough. Okay, and that is what I wanted to show you this week. So hopefully you played along there and you wrote the details paragraph first, and you can compare it to this, which will hopefully kind of teach you more than just going ahead and watching the video and watching how I do it. This week, so you have a similar paragraph, a similar pie chart, and I want you to just answer this, write your answer into the comments below, and again I will be giving you feedback based on your answers for this question.